the Broncos have signed Cam Fleming on the first day of training camp. So, what does this mean for Billy Turner and his knee injury? Also, why not sign someone like Bobby Massie, who was your starting right tackle last year? We're going to break all that down and more right now on today's Broncos Breakdown. Today's Broncos Breakdown is presented to you by Aura, which is an all-in-one digital safety company that's helping to keep Broncos Country secure and protected when you are online, whether it's your identity or your credit/debit card, whatever it may be, make sure Aura is in your corner. Start a 14-day free trial when you go to aura.com/chatsports, links in the comments and the description of today's show. Plus, we'll tell you more about their great benefits later on. But let's get into the reason why you clicked on to today's show, which is the Broncos have made a move, right? It's been a while since they've done anything in free agency, but on the first day of training camp, Mike Klis tweeting out that the Broncos announced they have signed offensive tackle Cam Fleming back to the team, right? Played with the team last year, started 4 games for the Broncos last season, down the stretch when Bobby Massie got hurt. They also had to make a release, and they waived undrafted free agent inside linebacker Kadofi Wright. So now we've got some competition with Billy Turner starting on the PUP list. Let's dive into this and break it down a little bit further. So this is clearly a depth/competition move at right tackle with Billy Turner on the PUP list to start training camp, dealing with a knee injury, which ultimately led to him being released by the Packers back in March and his return to Mile High. Now, as Mike pointed out, Cam Fleming played for the Broncos in 2021. He was drafted by the Patriots, 4th-round pick, jumped around a little bit, played some football for the Cowboys, for the Giants, ended up with Denver last season. And with training camp opening up today, Wednesday, July 27th, this is a move that comes, I wouldn't say as a surprise. I'm not blown away that they signed a tackle. I have been beating that drum for a long time, but I'm a little surprised they go with Cam Fleming and not someone like, I don't know, Bobby Massie. But what's your one-word reaction to signing, to the Cam Fleming signing? Let me know what yours is down below. I'm going to be giving you my one word in just a moment, but I'm curious what you guys are thinking, because you can go a handful of different directions, right? You could think of, I don't know, say surprise or depth or competition. But I want to know what your one-word reaction is down in the comments section below, because I'm definitely a little bit surprised. I'm feeling a little bit all over the place. One, it's also just Cam Fleming, but it's also the first piece of real news and moving that they've done in quite some time, so I'm happy to see that they are addressing the Billy Turner injury, which is why I'm going with uneasy. I'm a little concerned now that Billy Turner's knee injury is more serious than we may have thought back in minicamp and OTAs when he sat out, and it was no big deal because it was May and June. But now I'm starting to wonder, how serious is this knee injury? Because the Packers believed it was serious enough to release him after he failed his physical, ended the season dealing with that knee injury. Now, when he was with the Broncos his first stint, had some ups and downs. I think he did a lot of improvement when he was up in the frozen tundra, and I was okay with the move to bring him back and have him be the starting right tackle for this team. I was looking for maybe a bigger oomph of a signing or a draft pick, but ultimately George Paton can only fix so many holes on a roster in one offseason. So he goes a little light and goes, yep, we'll go Turner for 1 year, and we'll figure out right tackle long-term after that. Now, when breaking news like this happens, producer Jeff and I are hopping in the lab, and we're getting a video out to Broncos Country as soon as possible. So help us reach 9,000 subscribers here at the channel. What do we got? 600 and change to go. Let's cross that mark, hopefully on this video, but I'm not too optimistic. But, hey, help me out. Prove me wrong by hitting that sub button. Now, if you look at his 2021 PFF grades and stats and whatnot, played 285 snaps, which I know that's just a big number, but for an offensive lineman, that's not a huge number. 2 penalties, didn't give up a sack, and had an overall grade of 71.7. He only played in how many games? 5 games last season, started the last couple games for Bobby Massie. But we're going to look at more of this, speaking of Massie, in just a second. But like I mentioned off the top of today's show, Aura is our proud sponsor today. because we do more online than ever before, right? You may be going online to figure out, hey, how do I get to Dove Valley, and how do I get parking, and can I go find out where to watch Broncos training camp? Well, when you're online, you don't want your credit card or your identity compromised. So make sure you get started with their 14-day free trial at aura.com/chatsports. I'll put that link for everyone in the comments and the description of today's show. We shop, we bank, we work, we do everything online. It's time to make sure we are protected when we are on the web. So, like I mentioned earlier, why not bring Bobby Massie back, right? This has been floated around on Twitter since the signing happening, and I was not on board, or I wasn't, screaming out from the top of my lungs, bring back Bobby Massie after last year, because he was a one-year guy. He didn't wow you. He wasn't an absolute train wreck, but that's what you got out of him. It was an older player, one-year contract. I'm guessing George Paton may have called Bobby Massie's agent and was like, hey, is Massie in football shape? And he's like, oh, that old guy? No. Yeah, he's been at the barbecue and hanging out by the pool all summer. He's not ready to go for training camp. Maybe, maybe not. But I'm thinking you would have seen some due diligence by Paton to look at all of his options before landing on Cam Fleming. Now, Cam Fleming, I put him behind Calvin Anderson on the depth chart here. I don't think this is signing Cam Fleming to replace Billy Turner if he's not ready to go week one. I think this is, we can have 90 guys on our roster in training camp. We know that our tackle position is a little bit uneasy, so why don't we add an extra body to this mix here and a little bit extra depth and competition, and not just have it be a two-horse race between Compton and Anderson if Turner is ultimately not ready to roll. Why not add a third guy at the price of, Kadofi Wright, a UDFA? But what's your concern level for this Broncos offensive line? It was one of the focal points this offseason. I mean, once Russell Wilson came to town and you checked that big box of we've got our quarterback, all of a sudden offensive line, inside linebacker, those became higher positions of need. So scale it 1 to 10. To kind of wrap up today's show, I really want to get this point across here. I think this signing could mean two things. One, just a camp body, right? You can have 90 guys out there. If you are a little thin at the right tackle position, why not bring an extra guy in there to spell some reps from Anderson and Compton and keep the drills moving along? Because ultimately, a lot of times GMs, they can have 90 guys in there because they need to keep practice moving and they want it to be competitive, even though they know who's going to make the 53-man roster. The other thing it could mean, and I don't want to go full panic mode here, but maybe Billy Turner's knee is not progressing well, right? Maybe this injury is a little bit more serious than we all thought it would be. And George Paton back in May and June when Turner was out of OTAs and minicamp was like, it's fine, it's the spring right now. Let's readdress when summer rolls around and we're into camp. And here we are now having the time of our lives. Shout out to Sergio Dip. And all of a sudden it's like Billy Turner's knee, yeah, it's not looking all that well. We're not getting a bunch of green arrows that he's going to be ready for week one. It's a bit iffy right now. So then he goes, all right, you know what? Why don't we bring in some more competition/depth? But speaking of training camp, will you be going to it, right? Fans were lining up. I saw on Twitter this morning as early as, and I don't want to get this wrong, I think like yesterday morning, almost like a full 24 hours in advance to get in there. So drop a simple Y for yes or N for no if you will be going to Dove Valley to watch Broncos training camp. All right, make sure you subscribe down below if you have not already to get the best Broncos YouTube coverage out there. I don't think anyone's going to get a Cam Fleming video out as soon as we did, so hit that big red button.